The old joke goes, smile, things could be worse, and sure enough, I smiled, and things did get worse. 2008 was already previewed to be a year that was going to be pretty darn problematic, when all of a sudden things went from a gas crisis to the change in politics and the election to an unbelievably bad financial scandal, as bad, if not worse, than the ones in the past. And we don't have to go back very far to find other financial scandals, be it the failure of America's largest accounting firm, Enron, and their energy contracts and derivatives, and even the former head of the New York Stock Exchange and the Securities Exchange Commission, Grasso, in his inappropriate pay package. While a longer treatise might go back to the Dutch and their tulip speculation centuries ago, or back to the 1920s with the Florida land boom and bust, probably the most relevant one is that of the savings and loan crisis, where the insuring arm of the federal government, the FSLIC, disappeared and was replaced by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. While the headlines are full of fraudulently run funds and their deceptive practices associated also with the sad and tragic news of associated suicides, these were based upon Ponzi schemes wherein investors were paid with the investments of investors from the past. The news lay elsewhere. And if one were to assert blame, neither the Republicans nor the Democrats would be entirely fault-free. The Republicans sought deregulation, and indeed, as we will see, much of what came to pass was due to regulations that were only initiated in 2001. Likewise, the Democrats encouraged lending, liar loans, if you will, which were inappropriate on both the borrower's and the lender's part. Much like a very bad or maybe very good murder mystery or soap opera, the number of players and who's a victim and who's the criminal starts to become confusing. Recently we've seen Best Buy get into trouble. General Motors and Ford aren't doing well. AIG had to be bailed out, the reinsurance corporation. Merrill Lynch had to be acquired by Bank of America. Savings and loans are in trouble. Countrywide was also acquired by Bank of America. And the federal entities, which were to ensure a smooth operation in terms of mortgages, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, well, they are no more. Citicorp is in hot water, and most of this seems to have started with the failure on the part of Lehman Brothers after the bailout of Bear Stearns. It's generally recognized that then-Secretary Paulson's decision to save Bear Stearns, albeit at a rock-bottom price, and on the other hand to let Lehman Brothers fail, was perhaps maybe a rational philosophic decision, but certainly did not bear up in terms of his experience nor in terms of the outcome. But Secretary Paulson was not clearly the only one to blame. The SEC was clearly asleep at the switch on more than one instance, also including the previously mentioned fund scandals. The media were clearly darlings of the idea of laissez-faire, everything-goes capitalism. And we should probably put things into perspective by talking about specifically what caused the banking crisis. A little history here. Back in 1970, a guy named Bruce Bent invented the idea of money market funds. Those are those funds that end in double X's. And these are ones where they trade for $1 on $1, and they're supposed to be like passbook savings accounts, and up until recently had no FDIC insurance. He ran a company called the Reserve Fund, but when Lehman Brothers was allowed to fail, this caused in particular Putnam's money market fund, which had AAA rated Lehman securities in there, which was also an indictment of the rating services. But when that fund failed, it sent everybody scurrying for the exits, namely FDIC banking funds, and then that caused the Treasury, the Fed, to turn around and then provide FDIC insurance to the money market funds. Well, the upshot of all this was unbelievably high amounts of stock market volatility and a price fall that has become unprecedented. It is my observation, I think beyond that of an editorial opinion, that this sequence of events could have been avoided if just one had put the cart behind the horse. That is, the failure of Lehman would have caused the failure of money markets, which their subsequent insurance by FDIC is to be applauded, but the realization of that is that the FDIC insurance should have occurred first. And had that been done, the repercussions around the world, which range from moderate to bankrupt, as in the case of Iceland, which ran their entire economy as a hedge fund, as frankly as I did in my own play account, which has been decimated. But I'm proud to say that in my retirement account I followed the rules which I do teach, which is to take your age and make that the fraction that you place in risk-free investments. Well, what do we do now? Well, do look for your brokerage and bond accounts to be SIPC insured. And if you look to a credit union, that's a good choice. And of course, FDIC insurance in the case of your banking.